Hey brother, Ben here. And in this short video, I'm going to walk you through exactly how I've created this beautiful connected marriage, a very deep bond with my kids, the best physical shape I've been in my life at 45 years of age, a business that I love and that thrives and that I really enjoy going and doing, and living with more meaning and purpose, more fulfillment, joy, happiness, etc. And doing this without throwing more on your plate, right? Adding more to your plate and trying to just make ends meet. Now, if you're new to my world and this sounds crazy to you and you're skeptical, etc., totally get it, right? My job here, though, isn't to convince you. I'm not trying to tell you how to live your life. I literally just want to give you some insights and show you a very specific system myself and my clients are using to create a better life, a more fulfilling life. And then at the end of this video, if this is something that you want help with, or you might want to implement this system, et cetera, I'm going to give you an opportunity to take advantage of an invite where we can jump on and we can partner together and utilize this system and these processes and these tools, as well as the community to help you do that. And if not, no problem, man. Like, hopefully this training just gives you some perspective on some of the principles and strategies that you can use, that you can implement into your own life and into your own business. But first, let's talk about who this is for and who it's not for. Firstly, I want to just cover in on who this is not for. So it's not for the guy that I call the victim. You're kind of going through life and no matter what happens, it's always someone else's fault. And we play the victim game, like, oh, I can't make anything work, blah, 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 all those sorts of things. Like, this is not for you. You're welcome to stay, but it's not designed for you. And then the second guy is if you're down and out, like the guy who's really struggling to just make ends meet, struggling to get out of bed, struggling to just get the bare basics, what I call getting to ground level. I highly recommend you go and get proper support with that. Like, this training is not for you. And I feel for you, brother. I've been there before. It's a very hard place to get out of, but you're not going to get a lot of value out of this particular training. So let's now talk about who this is for. The first is it's for that guy who is committed to his family. He wants to create a way to not only spend more time with his kids, but he's desire to create deep, rich connections with his wife and his partner. We want to create a fun home, a great environment to raise children where there's minimal tension and we engage and connect with each other. The second is for the guy who wants more passion, man, wants to operate with a drive and an energy, bring back like that vitality that he had in his 20s, where you're the life of the party, you're chasing adventure, you're looking forward to great experiences in life. And then the third guy is what we call like the inspired guy. Like, you want to surround yourself with like-minded men, men who are on the path to greatness, men who want the best for each other, and men who are driven to inspire, empower, and support one another to get the best out of their life. And then the final bit is the guy who wants fulfillment, man. The guy who thinks life should be fun. I want a marriage, raising kids, running a business, all that should bring joy, happiness, and a feeling of, excitement versus frustration and resentment. I'm talking about embracing the path of life, regardless of the challenges, and making the most of it as it unfolds. So, brother, if you fit into any of these categories, and ideally all four, then you're going to get a whole lot of value out of this. So let me briefly introduce myself. So I'm 45 years of age. I live in Sydney. I'm married to my chosen one. We've been married for 13 years. Got two kids, 11 and 13. But my life wasn't always like this. Like, I'm driven to live the most passionate, exciting, fulfilling life that I can live. I want to show up as a great husband. I want to be present for my children, and I want to have fun along the journey. But 10 years ago, a little over 10 years ago, 32, I found myself in a pretty dark place, early stage, two young kids, running a business job, etc. I just wasn't happy, unfulfilled, very disconnected in my marriage. Now, at the time, I didn't really think much of it. Like, if someone asked me, how are you doing, man? I'd just say, yeah, I'm good. Life's good. But the truth was, man, I was deep down. I was really unfulfilled. I was dissatisfied. I wasn't happy with where I was at. I didn't have the results that I really desired to have. And I got stuck in this modality of what I call operating the old way. And so what I want to do is just give you a bit of insight into what this looks like and how my life has changed since it. So when I call it the old way, what I mean by this is, for a long time in my life, I was chasing this notion of have more. I wanted to have more money. I wanted to have more success. I wanted to have more confidence. And I would just spend all my days, hours, from the time I woke to the time I went to sleep, it was all about chasing this, especially around the dollars. Like I was just literally, I need to have more. And I kept telling myself, until I have more, or once I have more, then I'll do more. Once I have the money, once I have the success and the confidence and all these things that I want, then I'll do more. I'll do more with my family. I'll do more with my wife, and I'll do more for myself. Because I know that once I have more, once I have the money, once I have the success, then I'll go and do more with my family, with my wife, with myself, etc. Work on that. Then I will be more fulfilled. I'll be more happy, etc. Now, this modality I ran year after year after year, working long hours, driven by stress to literally just feel worthy. That, telling myself that if I'm not busy chasing this have more, I'm literally wasting life. It was just get more done. I just need to be more productive. I just need to chase all these things. And what I found is I was literally just focusing on the short term goals here, right? Just short term financial success is really what I wanted. And I just kept chasing that, right? And it left me feeling like a lone wolf, that I didn't need anyone else in my life, my wife included. Sadly, at that point in time, I'm just like, man, I don't need them. Like everything's a handbrake in my world at this point. I just need to have more. How do I have more money? Now, the thing is, it left me exhausted, burnout. Home wasn't a great place to be, far from happy and fulfilled. As I went through this, I went on this surf trip. You've probably heard me talk about it on the podcast, but I went on this surf trip, and what I found myself was all I wanted was this surf trip to go on. Like that was the thing that was going to bring me the fun and the joy and the happiness and all this sort of stuff. But the truth was, man, when I got there, all I thought about was how much I missed my family, how much I missed my kids. And that's when I knew something was broken. And so I came back from that surf trip. This was about 11 years ago. And I came back from that surf trip and I'm like, something has to shift here. Chasing this have more, and we've heard it all before. Like I'm not the first to talk about this. It's not just about the money, etc. But at that point in time, that's all I thought it was about. I came back from that surf trip and I'm like, something has to shift. And what I found was that I actually had this whole plan, this whole thing upside down. And what I mean by that is I came back and I started the process of being more, right? And when I was being more, and I'll go through that in a second, I was able to do more. I found the capacity to do more with my family, with my wife, for myself. And when I had that capacity and I was doing more, guess what happened? I would get to have more money, more time, more freedom. And so, what I want to help you understand is that you have to flip this model, right? In terms of being more. Now, what does being more actually mean? So, what I did was I flipped the way that I looked at how I was operating in day to day life. I started focusing on quality over quantity. Quality in terms of my relationships, quality in terms of the time that I spent on myself physically, mentally, emotionally, etc., how I showed up in business. I started focusing on consistency, doing the same thing or the right thing over and over and over again rather than just chasing short-term intensity. I became very disciplined in my life. Things that I ate, the things that I watched, the things that I read, the things that I showed up, etc. I looked at this notion and I implemented this notion of chasing momentum, like building momentum over time rather than just movement, just doing stuff for the sake of doing stuff. I got very clear on who I was and became very authentic. Like, this is who I am. This is how I show up. This is how I operate. I don't have to apologize for anything, but I'm very clear on who I am versus trying to keep up with appearances. I focused on reflection. And what I mean by that is slowing down and actually reflecting on things rather than just reacting in that moment. So rather than yelling and screaming when things didn't go my way, I actually stopped and going, why am I frustrated with this? Right? I looked at the notion of growth. I looked at how do I become more resilient? And this created this path for myself, right? This helped me go from chasing the have more into this notion of being more. And so I took this process, and over the past 10 years, I've been able to create it into something that I call the Fulfilment Flywheel, right? Because out of all this, and there's been a lot of testing and changes and things that I've done over the years with all these new processes in the Be More, but it's like there's certain things that work and certain things that don't. And it all comes down to really three core elements that matter in order to create the life that you desire to have, right? So you might be watching this right now saying, hey man, business is good, marriage is good, kids are good, etc. I'm not talking about good. I'm talking about exceptional, like a really in depth, beautiful, deep marriage, a business that you love to operate, that you're passionate about, that actually makes really good revenue for you without stressing you out and breaking you down. The deep connection with your children, being able to be present rather than distracted, etc. But also, too, physically, like being able to look after your physical performance, etc. And it comes down to these three things. Now, the first is core connection. Now, I want to talk about core connections here first, right? The reason for that is it's often overlooked, yet it's one of the most important terms of operating and creating a fulfilling, joyous, you know, motivated, passionate life. Now, Tony Robbins said this, right? He's the guru of personal development. He said, the quality of your life is the quality of your relationships. Because the truth is, man, there's a lot of talk out there about hustling on your own, being the lone wolf, the one who breaks away from the pack and just gets it done. And while there's some truth to that, I don't dismiss that, but the concept itself is not discussed properly, right? You're not going to create your best life, fulfill your dreams on your own. I've worked with just way too many successful men who have lost their marriage, their connection with their kids, etc. They've got the success, they've got the houses, they've got the cars, they've got all the stuff that, on the paper looks great. Yet, man, they are not happy. And I'm sure that's not the first time you've heard it. And so we've got to look at this notion of core connection. And the core connection, there's a couple of things in here. It's your connection to your family. It's your connection to your partner or your wife. It's the connection as well, which is a big one, connection to yourself. And so we've got to really start looking at this. What are we doing on a day-to-day basis in order to create this deeper, meaningful core connection? Now, the second thing is around what we call peak performance, right? Where we're optimizing how you operate, not just physically, but mentally, emotionally, spiritually, professionally. And I love this statement by Stephen Kotler. He said that peak performance is the result of getting your biology, psychology, and strategy working in unison. Now, peak performance is us inside Rising Kings is a very critical element and has been in my life for a long time, because if you're not performing at an optimized level, it's impacting business results. If you're not performing at a high level, it's impacting your capacity to deal with the challenges that come up in marriage, the challenges that come up of raising children, and just day-to-day challenges as they come up and hit your life. And so being dialed in on peak performance, and again, right, that's your mental performance. It's your physical performance. It's your emotional performance. It's your spiritual performance and your professional performance. And this all ties into, like I've talked about before, which is your capacity. Your capacity to be able to deal with the challenges of life, show up in life, and make progress, even when it feels like everything's against you. And then the third piece is what we call the purposeful path. Because it's one thing, man, to have all the connections in place, you're operating in terms of peak performance and you're crushing it in terms of business, etc. But if you're not clear on your purpose and why you actually do what you do, where does that lead? Now, out of all the men that I've coached over the years, I can tell you, like, one of the biggest areas that men miss is this notion of purpose. And I love what Simon Sinek said when he said, working hard for something we don't care about is called stress. Working hard for something we love is called passion. Now, I'm not talking that in here you need to completely shift and change the job that you're doing or the business that you created, et cetera. It's actually figuring out how it leads into your bigger purpose. We've got to be able to dive in on this. It's what we refer to as an identity shift. When you dial all these in, this is what we call the fulfillment flywheel. So there's obviously quite a bit to this, but I just want to share with you on this video today, this is how we are transforming lives. This is how we are making it so that men can live their best possible life. It's called a fulfillment flywheel for a reason. The more we invest in this on a day-to-day, week-to-week, month-to-month, quarter-to-quarter basis, the more fulfilling our lives become. The bigger the capacity, the more excitement, the more fun, the more joy, the better the connection we have with our wives, with our children, etc. And I'm not just saying this just for my life. Like, this is a lot of men that I've taken through this process who've transformed this life from one that feels like it's a grind, it's hard, it hurts, and there's no other way out of it to, hey, man, I'm getting bigger and better results than I was before, and it feels lighter at the same time. The biggest thing I can give you right now to take away is what we call the one-page plan. This is literally sits at the core of the work that we do inside Rising Kings to create this fulfilling lifestyle. And the beauty of this is it really ties into an overarching plan of like a 12-month path. And so we have our men actually identify, well, where do you want to land in 12 months? Why is that important? What does it look like? And then who do you need to become in order to do it? Now, as we go into the 12 months, we then break it down into quarters and we got to figure out, okay, how do we start moving the needle on these drivers to get the results that we want over the next 12 months? And the first thing that we do is we look at what's our quarterly vision. What is it that we really want to dial in here? What's our core focus for the quarter ahead? We then go through a very specific tool that's called the Wheel of Life assessment. And the beauty of it is it shows you where your blind spots are and the areas of growth that you need to look into in order to expand out this capacity to create this fulfilling life that you desire. Because once you go through it, you're going to identify your top 1 to 5 areas of growth. So we're just going to get laser focused here. Now, in those 1 to 5 areas of growth, we want to understand like what are the behaviors that are going to drive the needle in order to grow those areas. And what this stops, man, is stops you just chasing symptom after symptom, trying to chase solutions to the wrong problems. We get burnout, we get exhausted. I don't know how long you've been in the personal development game, but I can tell you when I got stuck in this modality, man, it didn't matter how much time, money, etc. I spent on things. I never really felt like I was making progress. I never felt like I was moving forward. I would always feel like I'd make 10 steps forward, 9 steps back, but it cost me a lot of time and effort and energy. This here is designed to go 1 step forward, 1 step forward, 1 step forward, over and over and over again. We then come down into 3 quarterly goals, understanding like what are they, why are they important, and how are they going to get us to our 12-month target. And then our mantra, which is, man, let's be honest here. I'm a logical man. When you talk about mantras, or you used to talk to me about mantras, my eyes are just blank over. Like, the hell's a mantra? Like, who cares? The mantra, though, is a shift in beliefs. This really can help you shift the way that you operate and the way that you show up in life. And then when you put all this together, you have a very simple tool on your hands, right? It removes confusion, it removes frustration, time wasting activities that are only slowing you down or hindering you from achieving that life that you desire to have, man. And so when you layer this, right, this is just one part of the process, but when you layer this, the opportunity to upgrade also to your awareness. We throw in knowledge, we throw in skills, additional trainings, workshops. But not only that, surrounding yourself with like-minded brotherhood of men to share these experiences, to learn from one another. That's when transformation happens, right? Day after day, growing by 1% over and over and over again, stacking that momentum, right? This is where life changes, right? Less stress, less frustration, less self-doubt. You know what you're doing, you know where you're going, you know what to focus on, and it starts to build out this fulfillment flywheel. Hopefully you understand like just the importance of this, but you're probably asking like, that's great, Ben. Thanks, man. Does this work for everyone? Does this work for other men as well who maybe don't or aren't in the situation that you're in right now? 100%. Like, let me just share a couple on here. Right, this guy, Troy Miles. Dude, this guy just goes from strength to strength. Like, he came in, burnout, business owner, etc. He's come in and he's just completely changed the way that he shows up for his wife, for his kids, bringing in this fulfillment, this happiness, this joy. And his wife just gives massive kudos and feedback to him about how exciting it is to have him back, have him fulfilled. Same with his kids. James, similar, man. This guy's an employee. He works for a company. And so it works for these guys as well, but he's showing up differently, man. Like, he's got this different level of energy, confidence, etc., that he brings back into the home. We've got Bads, who's been with us for a while. And like the shift in this guy from burnt out business owner to this fulfilled, exciting, fun, joyous dad, right? And husband who just shows up with endless energy. Like, he doesn't feel so tired and exhausted anymore, that he's got this energy to show up for his kids, to lead them by example, showing his daughter here, stepping into the discomfort of life. Johnny Hargraves, again, like another brother, came in, man, just grinding himself to the bone, because that's what we've been taught as men, like, just get more done. And so being able to help him understand, man, like there's another path here, man. It's not just get more done, it's get more of the right things done at the right time, helping him reconnect with his wife, reconnect with his kids, but reconnect with himself. And then Kevin Booth, man, like this was a huge one for Kevin, like in terms of where he was. Like this guy runs a very successful business up on the up in North Queensland, huge, and the stress levels were just killing him and eating him, and he just couldn't break out of this pattern. He tried everything, and then he came into Rising Kings and started implementing these processes and these systems, and all of a sudden he's just redeveloped and reconnected this deep bond with his wife and with his kids and with his daughters, and it's beautiful to see. And so, through this work, man, like we have helped over 120 men save their marriages, right? Just through this process, helping men shed like close to 800 kilograms. I'm talking just over the last 3 years. I've just grabbed like a snapshot here, and over 500 plus lives fulfilled that have gone through this process. And I've got dozens and dozens of these. If you want more, I'm sure there's a link below and you can go and check out all the testimonials that are out there. My job here isn't to convince you, right? If you need convincing, then dude, I can send you a bunch of resources. Hit me up, shoot me a message, and I'll send you a bunch of resources. But if you're here, man, and you're watching this video, you've been intrigued by this journey and this model, and you think it's something that might work for you, then brother, I'd like to invite you to send me a DM and we'll go from there. So all you got to do, man, is find me on Facebook or Instagram. Very, very simple. At Rising Kings on both of those. Shoot me a DM with King and we'll take the conversation from there. No pressure from me. I'd love to work with you and support you, but at the same time, bro, I only want to work with those guys that are willing to make this shift. And that's what makes this movement so powerful and strong, is that we're not forcing guys to join this. Guys come to us and go, dude, love what you're all about. Listen to the pod, love it. Really want to start implementing some of those tools. How do I do that? Awesome. Here's the strategy on how we do it. Here are the things that you need to do. Those guys come in and transform their lives, and now we're connected as a very strong brotherhood. So if you want to break out of, the rat race, so to speak, the pain, the hustle, the grind, maybe not finding the fulfillment and the joy that you should have at this point in life. Maybe you're disconnected on the home front and you really want to up that game, or connection with your kids, etc. Then, dude, reach out. Shoot me a DM, King. Let me know that you've watched the video. I'd love to know what your biggest takeaway is, and I'll support you on that. And if not, man, no stress. Like I said, there's plenty of things you can go out there and take on board that could help you with this. Like we've got a weekly podcast that I put together that has a great following and gives you lots of tools, tips, strategies, etc. You can follow us on Facebook. You can check us out on Instagram. And we've just recently launched on YouTube. And there's a lot of free content that we pump out on a weekly basis to just give you tools, tactics, and strategies to help you along this way. But if you're like, hey, man, I want the fast path, I want to know exactly what to do and how to do it, then brother, like I said, shoot me a DM, use the term King. Let me know that you've watched this video and we'll take the conversation from there. So brother, I hope you got something out of this. I hope it supports you. I hope this gives you some insight into the type of work that we're doing. I'd love to connect with you. I hope to see you on the other side. Until then, stay strong.